in any time for living or visiting Bali, choosing the correct area, every area of Bali offers something different, is definitely your first step to making decisions for your holiday or your life to live here. Hi everyone, and welcome to our first Bali Insiders Tips episode for 2023.
Yes, we're very excited about this episode, and I think you will be too, because this episode we are going to be answering all your questions on kids in Bali, and it's something that we both get slammed with questions all the time. So
now when you ask the question, we're going to refer you to this show.
Absolutely. So anyone that's waiting for me to answer their questions, just click on the link and you can listen to this episode.
So we have a big list of, you guys sent through a lot of questions about kids in Bali. So we're just basically going to go through them, give you our tips, give you our advice, and if there's anything we missed, let us know and we'll catch you up on that.
We put this one out to Insta, didn't we? Because
we did.
We just keep getting questions and it was like instantaneous. It was just like, yes.
So let's get into it. First question is it safe to bring kids to Bali?
Well, I think both of our answers would be yes.
Considering we both live here with our kids, yes.
Yes. Look, I think there are so many things to consider, and it's about your family and things like that. But in general, yes, of course, it's safe. It's a wonderful place for big and small kids.
Yeah.
To
so
live.
Definitely we feel very safe here.
Yes.
Actually, I used to live in Townsville and I've seen the crime surging there. So I definitely feel much safer living here in Bali than I do in Townsville at the moment. So yes, answer to that one is yes.
Yes. Okay, Carl, so next question, which areas are best to stay with kids?
So we've had questions, this kind of like be a double up of questions. So some are about living here with kids and some are about holidaying here with kids. If it's living, obviously your area, you should look at what are you going to do? What are you going to do for schooling? Because you don't want to be living far from school or care or particular activities that you want to do or that your kids may want to do. Like they may want to play soccer. And if you're living up in Cedarman and there's no soccer academies, that could be very tricky.
Yes. And also I think what, in terms of your family is a priority, there's different opportunities in different areas as well. If
like
you're really
if you
beachy family.
Yeah.
But you might be a more cosmopolitan family and you want to, go out to restaurants and do all, so definitely worth considering what's important to you as a family.
Yeah, for the areas. You also want to really think about holidays or living, how you're going to get around. Are you going to ride a scooter? Are you going to drive a car? Are you going to employ a driver? Are you going to use online apps? Thinking about how you're going to get around will determine your area. So, for example, we know that the Canggu traffic at the moment is a nightmare.
Yep.
And if you don't want to be spending a lot of time in the car or you don't want to have to put your children on bikes, then that's probably not your best choice. Yeah. So thinking about how you get around, thinking about the things that you want to do or see while you're here.
And then I think for schooling, if you're here for a long period of time or permanently, the distance between where you live and the school, it's not quite the same as in Australia where you've got the local primary school within walking distance, so you have to consider that as well.
The other thing is if you've got young children and you want to use a stroller or a pram and you need footpaths to do that on, the areas of Kuta, Legian, Seminyak, and then over in Sanua, a little bit in Ubud, but not as much. They're kind of like the areas where you can push a pram, kind of though, because some of the pathways are quite rough as well.
There's more established footpaths rather than
And Nusa-Dua, of course. Too.
Yes,
Nusa-Dua,
yes.
of course, as
And
well.
rather than going around the drains.
Yeah. Actually, Nusa-Dua has probably got the best footpaths when it comes to prams and things like that. But that is definitely a big consideration because, you know, like in Canggu, there's no footpaths.
And you see most parents in Canggu carrying their babies because it's just safer. Like everybody's got a carrier rather than a stroller.
Yeah. So you need to think about getting around and how you're going to get around and the things that you want to do.
Yes.
So in any time for living or visiting Bali, choosing the correct area, every area of Bali offers something different, is definitely your first step to making decisions for your holiday or your life to live here.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay, next question, Em, is, now this is a big one. What is the etiquette for hiring a nanny? Now, we had this question come through from people who live here and are trying to hire a nanny on you know, more of an employment basis.
Yep.
And we also had this question come through from tourists who want to have a nanny as part of their holiday. So we'll probably answer this in two separate. So my kids were a bit older when I moved over, so I never really had a live-in or I didn't have a nanny on staff. So you're probably better for this one.
Well, we have an incredible nanny and she's full-time. So, you know, it's a bit how long is a piece of string, I think, this question, because it, again, depends on your family needs, how many children you have, all of that kind of stuff, because if you've got 3 children, there might be more than one nanny. That's required. But I think in terms of hiring a full-time nanny as an expat, think about what you need as a family. We need our nanny full-time because my husband and I are both working full-time. She comes in the morning and takes the boys to daycare, goes with the driver so that there's someone in the car with them. She cooks their food, not ours, just theirs. You know, she helps a little bit with the housework and
but she's not really she's not doing the cleaning.
No. We have a separate housekeeper that does that. Her focus is the boys.
The boys.
If they're not there, then she can help with other things. She then picks them up from school, then spends the afternoon with them till we are available to then, you know, put them to bed and do bath and all of that kind of stuff.
If the boys had activities like singing lessons or drumming lessons or something, the nanny can
absolutely attend those with the boys. You know, again, depending on your family and how and what, you know, you want to be involved in. Like that's the kind of stuff that I want to make sure that I'm there for. But yes, like, you know, even on the weekend, sometimes if we have work or we've got, you know, an engagement or something, our nanny will take the boys to park life, you know, for the afternoon and take them out. So, you know, I think finding the right fit, interviewing and speaking to lots of different people and working out exactly what is needed within your family. I also know other families that, you know, they only use the nanny
between 3 and 6.
Yeah. So it's very flexible. Have a conversation with your nanny as well, and you know, you'll find your groove. We tried lots of different things until we found our groove
and how it worked. And making, I guess, one of the tips I've found from talking to people is being really clear about what you allow the children to eat or not eat, how you want them to be disciplined if something has gone wrong, or language and words and things like that.
That's absolutely crucial, I think. You know, our kids have allergies, so it's really important that, one, she understands the allergies because often, you know, Indonesian or Balinese people aren't exposed to a lot of the things that our kids have. So she needs to understand that and the foods that they can eat. And then what was the other thing?
Discipline.
Discipline. Discipline.
You know, I think that would be hard.
That's hard because, look, we've spoken a lot to our nanny about this because we have 2 boys that are a little bit naughty. So I want her to feel that if they're doing the wrong thing, that she's empowered to do that within a certain,
realm of
realm of
acceptance.
yes, yeah. And she's really respectful of that and really good. And I've heard her when she doesn't know that we're there.
Yeah.
And she's very, very good with the boys. But it's definitely something that we've really had to talk to her about and be clear.
Yeah, don't just assume that they're going to know what you
Yes,
want.
yes, yeah.
It's got to be conversations.
And don't be afraid, I think, to explain and tell them what you do want. Just be kind and be, clear about it. You don't need to be rude. I've heard some people treat their nannies horribly, and it makes me so mad.
Yeah.
You want them to be part of your family. They're looking after your children.
And just being, I think it's the thing is being clear and not to assume that things that come naturally to you or that you would do naturally with your kids, that they're going to just automatically know that. Like that has to be
absolutely
a conversation.
Yeah. And if you're asking someone else to do that, you need to have some flexibility in the way that they
Deliver
do that.
it.
Yeah.
And what about finding nannies as an expat?
So we had a lot of success there's a lot of Facebook pages. So there's nannies in Bali, there's a bunch.
Jobs in Bali.
Yeah. And we just put together a really clear and concise ad and put it on those sites, and we had some amazing responses. You do get bombarded, so you need to kind of filter through. We then set up a level of interviews. So we had a chat with 5, then we narrowed it down to 3, then we met 2 in person. So, and I think it's also really good if you're looking for a long-term nanny to meet them in person and get them to spend some time with the children.
And watch the interaction.
And how they do that and how the kids respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nannies on holidays is different. There's lots of agencies around that that take care of groups of short-term nannies, and the agencies can make you feel a lot safer because there's reviews there from other families, and you're talking to an office rather than just a one-off nanny. But then of course I'm sure you have friends that can recommend people that they've used as nannies over here for holidays. Something to keep in mind for holidays is the nanny doesn't just have to be if you want to go out on a date night and the nanny's staying in your hotel room or your villa looking after the kids, but it can be really handy to bring a nanny on holidays to the attractions you're going to. For example, going to Waterbomb.
Yep.
If you and your husband want to go and do one of the scary rides, if you've got the nanny there, she can watch the kids while you go and
just an extra set of eyes.
Yeah.
An extra pair of hands.
Yeah. And the etiquette with nannies, hiring nannies when you're on holidays, it's generally an hourly rate. I think most are around, for a tourism nanny, it's like 70 to 80,000
per hour.
Average, depends how many kids and things like that, of course, but that's about 7 or 8 Australian dollars an hour. It is customary that you would cover their meals during that time. If it's over a meal time, that you'll cover their meals there. Really recommend having WhatsApp so that if you're not near the nanny, you can keep in contact with the nanny and she can send you updates and things like that. And probably having conversations with the nannies about timings and things like that, because it's if the nanny lives in Sonora and you're in Uluwatu, it's not really worth her while to go there for 2 hours or something like that, unless you're going to pay extra. So there are some considerations around those times as well.
And the other thing I think with nannies through agencies and more of established businesses as well is that they will have their first aid, which I think for a lot of, tourists, that is really important, and comfort as well. If you're an expat, like we've sent our nanny to do the course and we've paid for it. So they're less likely to have that experience in some ways, but that's the other benefit.
And then the other thing is swimming, of course, too. Don't assume that your nanny can swim, because there's lots that cannot. So that's a conversation. If you want them to be swimming or you want them to be watching the kids in the pool, you need to make sure that you have a nanny that is comfortable being in the water and that can swim.
definitely.
So that's all our nanny tips.
I think so.
I think that's most of them.
Okay, so next question. What should I do if my child gets sick?
So that's obviously one of the, when it comes to is Bali is safe, that's one of the first things that comes to mind, that we hear all the horror stories about the health system.
Yep.
I can honestly say, hand on my heart, since we lived here, the experiences we've had medical-wise in Bali, and we've had quite a few different issues where we've had to see specialists for different things, really have been nothing short of excellent. I haven't, touch wood, had a really horrible medical experience here.
Yep.
I've always been able to access really good professionals at good facilities.
Yep.
But it does take research. So not all hospitals, not all medical centres, not all health professionals are created equally here.
Yes. Yep. And I think there are, there's a lot of medical centres. There's one on almost every corner. But yeah, as you said, doing some research around the quality of that care. Often you'll know as well, once you walk in and you've had a chat to the doctor, you'll know if you're comfortable with that, that situation or what they've prescribed or, so definitely worth doing your research. There's big international hospitals here.
Yeah. That you can turn up as an emergency patient.
Yes.
So if it happens, it doesn't matter. I mean, kids always get sick in the middle of the night.
Yes, yes.
You can just jump in, jump in a taxi or whatever, and you can go to Siloam and you can go to BIMC and you can go to a lot of those big international hospitals that are around. And if you're a tourist, that's going to be covered on your travel insurance.
Make sure you've got travel insurance.
Do
first
not
and
travel
foremost.
here without travel
Yes.
insurance.
Yep.
That's
because also the out-of-pocket costs, just like anywhere, but if you don't have that travel insurance and you turn up at a hospital in an emergency situation, they will make you pay up front.
Yeah, and if you don't, they won't treat you.
And so just first and foremost, make sure you've got travel insurance.
But yeah, there are good medical centres around. There are good doctors who work specifically with tourists who come to you.
Yep.
Sometimes it's a 1 or 2 hour wait for them to get to you, but it can be a better scenario that they come to you than that you're going somewhere
you're
that
having
you're
to
feeling a
travel.
little
Yep.
uncomfortable with. But generally, the healthcare here is definitely for us much better than I expected once we come over here. But it does, when you're living here, do research in, like if you've got a problem with a bone or something, do research about who's had a similar problem and who they've gone to see.
Specialists and things like that, and ask the question.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is in an emergency, ambulances aren't always your go-to because of traffic. It can take a long time for them to get to you and then to get to the hospital. So the best thing to do is to just get in a car or on a bike if you're able to. We've had friends that, their kids have fallen over and bumped their head in the pool and they're bleeding and they've put them on the bike because it's just going to be so much quicker to get through the traffic.
With Cameron had a allergic reaction to something, and
I remember that.
Yeah, and we just both jumped on the bike with her and just went straight to our doctor, who was not far. For that pure reason that it's just we were there
quick.
within 5 minutes.
Rather than sitting in a car. Obviously, there will be some times where you will need to sit in a car, not on a bike. But I think, so just being aware of all those different options, doing a bit of research, having those key numbers as well. We have on the fridge a list of the key medical numbers. Just like you probably would in Australia, but just knowing what they are, because it's
knowing
not
what they are and knowing that it's a bit different here.
It's not 000.
And or 911.
911.
And, but for example, an ambulance could take a very long time to get to you, so it's not really the first thing that we would do.
Yes. Yeah.
In an emergency here, if we could avoid it.
But the care is great.
Yeah.
So don't let us. Yes.
So so moving on from the sickness, the next one goes on to the other common sickness is the Bali belly. So how to avoid getting Bali belly.
Well, look,
If you live here, you're going to get it at some
you're
point.
going to get it. I think just being prepared for it. I think there's things that you can do, hand washing.
Definite hand washing after money and eating, especially kids picking things up. Like hand washing is your number one defense.
Yes, yep. Sanitizer, wipes, hand washing.
Not washing your teeth in the water.
Not brushing teeth in the water,
Like
for
that's a
sure.
common mistake I see people make. Like, but I didn't drink it. I just washed my teeth in it. But that can be a good way
Yes,
to avoid it.
yep.
Says me, who always brushes my teeth in the water, but I wouldn't as a tourist. 'Cause
No.
I've lived here a long time now. I feel like you grow up.
I actually think you do, because Jules, my husband, he always brushes his teeth with the water. I still don't.
Yeah.
But he always, when he comes back or when we've gone back and forth, would always start brushing his teeth in water. He'd always get a bout of Bali belly and then he'd be fine.
Fine for that.
Yeah, but he's prepared for it. He knows it's going to happen.
Yeah. Definitely for kids, definitely
Yes.
as a tourist, do not brush your teeth.
Don't brush your
in
teeth.
the water.
All the hotels will offer, bottles
Water.
of water. So use those for your teeth brushing.
Yeah.
I think everyone's always concerned with how do you stop the kids from drinking the water in the bath.
Yeah.
How do you? I don't know. But, our kids, like as an expat, and they were little when they came here, we're always there watching them, and we're like, please don't do that. Please don't eat the face washer. Please don't pour that bottle in your mouth. But I think they have in some ways built up a bit of an immunity. But I think just being aware and trying to stop them.
And if
from
you're
doing
here
it.
on holiday, just like I remember when we were holidays and our kids were little, we'd just go, close your eyes, close your mouth, and do a quick and out. It's not like in Australia where it was in a form of entertainment and we'd put them in the bath and sit there for half an hour.
Yes. I also know of other people that use
Gallon water.
if they're really concerned.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's going to be an expensive way to bath your kids. But, another option if you're really concerned or anything like that.
You can do that. The most important thing if the kids do get it though, I mean even adults, but especially kids, is the dehydration factor.
Yeah.
So you just don't want them to become dehydrated. During that process. And my biggest tip for anyone is buy yourself a little bottle of Norrit once you get here. It's available at the supermarkets and at the pharmacies. It's about $1.
Yep.
And they're little charcoal tablets, and the minute we get a funny tummy, we usually take about 5 of them, and then every time you have to go to the bathroom or it comes out your mouth, you take another 2, and it kind of soaks up any of the toxins in there.
Yeah.
So
they're amazing, those Norrit tablets.
yeah, we don't travel anywhere without them.
Yeah. The other thing with little kids is, because you're probably not going to give them the charcoal tablets, but with little kids, we always have Hydrolyte Icy Poles.
Yeah.
So we've got boxes and boxes of them here. But also when we travel, we take them so we can just put them in the freezer. So if the kids do get sick, they're never going to drink the Hydrolyte tablets.
No.
They never do. So, but they think they're having an icy pole. So they'll, have one of those. So bring Hydrolyte Icy Poles.
And then the next sickness thing to talk about, which is the other, probably the more serious thing here, because I've had this twice myself, is dengue, and how to avoid getting dengue here, because it's here.
Yep.
And it's here more during wet season because there's more mosquitoes around, because there's more rain. But it's definitely here, and it's definitely something you have to be aware of.
Yeah, for sure.
When you come here. We've lived here like a bit more than 6 years now, and my husband's had it.
You guys have had a bit of a bad run with it
here.
haven't you?
He also had it once when he was in East Timor, but twice here. Cammie's had it twice. I've had it twice. So it is here. From what I believe, you can only get it 4 times.
Okay, that's
because there's 4 different strands.
Right.
And if you survive all 4 of them, you're immune. This is what we are told by the doctors, but we'll see. But it's definitely not something you want. It's really awful, actually, and it takes a long time to get
to recover.
over. So the best advice with dengue is try and avoid it at all cost.
Yes. But ways to do that: mosquito repellent, I think the misconception is that, and we talked about this earlier, is that the mosquitoes are, you know, at night, they're actually daytime mosquitoes.
The dengue mosquitoes are daytime mosquitoes. So don't think you just need to pull it out come sunset and put your repellent on.
And they also look a bit different. You know?
They do have stripes. It doesn't mean that every mosquito you see with stripes on them is carrying dengue.
Yeah.
But the ones that carry them have a white stripe on them, and they're generally active during the daytime. So definitely repellent.
Stay away from, if you can, you know, and it's hard because you can't always find these, but like stagnant pools of water, that's kind of where they feed off.
So if you're going into the rice fields and things like that to look, you need to make sure you have your repellent on there.
Yep.
Long sleeves and long shirts can help. So especially with kids at night time, you can put, daytime it can be a bit hot. But.
So panicked about this when we brought the boys back. And I just, you know, for the first 3 months, and our villa had a lot of mosquitoes, that first villa we lived in. And I used to just have them in Bonds onesies, long sleeves, and they had little sleeping bags, so that, you know, it would really limit the mozzie bites and things like that. And
but definitely try and avoid it. And it's just not nice to have. Kids generally get it less severe than adults, but it's something not to be ignored. If you do think you have dengue, you need to go and see the doctors, and they will take blood and they'll test it. And sometimes the dengue doesn't always show up because it only shows up if the dengue is attacking your body at that time of the blood being taken out. But it's really important about your blood count level and making sure, especially if you have to fly home, like before we lived here, and my husband got it here one time, we didn't get clearance to fly for a certain amount of time until his platelets got up. So the good thing is here though is that generally they're very well equipped,
experienced with it,
at dealing with it.
Oh, and just another tip for little ones with the mozzies. Chemist Warehouse and lots of chemists sell the little mozzie patches that you can stick on their clothes. So I often will just stick one on the back of the boys' T-shirts, and they're natural, so they're safe for kids, or the wristbands.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to put like repellent on the kid's skin, these are a really good option as well, and they're wearing them all day.
Yeah, and there's also really good local repellents that are really cheap, like the salt. Starts with an S, Solil or something like that.
Yeah, there's that one, and there's the one from Bali Buddha, or the bug on.
Yeah, there's quite a good few local ones around that. It's not like sunscreen where it's super expensive here and you're better off bringing it from home. There are lots of good local repellents here. So carry quite a few with you in every bag that you have.
Definitely.
Avoid the dengue.
Yes.
So I want to stay in a villa, but there is no pool fence. What are your tips on that, Em?
Well, that's easy. Just get a pool fence.
Yeah. So you can hire them.
You can hire pool fences here. It's really easy. You can do it through the villa. So if, you know, you contact your villa before arriving and just say, you know, we have some little kids, we want to have a pool fence for safety, they should be able to organise it for you.
And if you can't, there's lots of baby equipment hire places where it's not just pool fences, you can get
car seats, you can get
high
toys,
high chairs. You can even get baby monitors. You can microwaves.
Bottle warmers. All the things. So there's some really good businesses here that have, you know, seen a big gap in the market. You can't always travel with all the things, especially if you've got little babies. So there are lots of great options to hire all of that stuff. But in terms of pool fences, I think, go through your villa first and foremost. They will also know the size of the pool and all of that kind of stuff.
They probably have companies they already work with if they don't have one of their own to put up. So that's the big tip with villas, though, more so than even the pool and the pool fences, is to remember that a lot of the tourist villas, when you're coming for a holiday, open onto an open air kind of living area, which means when you go to bed at night, you need to lock your bedroom door. Rather than how say an Aussie house where we all go to sleep and we lock the front door and we lock the back door and we leave our bedroom doors unlocked. So there are a few really good what we call enclosed villas where you can do that, but not all are like that. So that's a big tip if you are bringing young children.
Yes.
And you want them to be in their own bedroom, like I'm sure.
Or their little kid, like my boy's age, where they get up themselves and go out. You don't want them
like wandering around
in the middle of the night, and
Yeah.
you're in a separate room and they're in a separate room. So consider the layout of the villa. And the other thing, when you mentioned open floor plans and things like that with the pool, they're all tiled.
Yeah.
And so for little kids, when they're getting in and out of the pool and then they're running in and out of that open plan living, just be really careful of the floor because it's
Bali
slippery.
is the slipperiest place.
It's
in the
slippery.
world.
Water and stone everywhere. So
and really shiny tiles everywhere.
Yes,
So,
very impractical.
Yeah, so be very careful.
Even
of the
as an
slipping,
adult,
actually.
you're just
Done it
all the time.
Plenty of time.
Yes.
Plenty of times. Bali Insiders podcast is proudly sponsored by Lighthouse Studios right here in Bali.
This space has been specifically designed for entrepreneurs, podcasters, coaches, and educators of all kinds. You can record podcasts just like ours, as well as masterclasses, social media content, and so much more.
They have awesome customizable studios to choose from, and most importantly, they take care of absolutely everything. The cameras, the microphones, the lights, even if you wish, the editing. They make it so easy.
And as well as the studios, they have a co-working cafe and some of the best food and coffee on the island of Bali. We highly recommend that you come in for a tour and have a chat about how you can create your own epic video and audio content.
You can visit them on Instagram at Lighthouse Studios Bali or jump on their website, wearelight.house. Now,
Cool.
we had a lot of questions about childcare centres for people who live here and play groups and things like that. That's your forte, Am. You have the little ones.
Yes. Look, there's so many options.
Yep.
There are, Australian-run childcare centres. There are, Indonesian-run. There's local-run. There's more like homeschooling type scenarios. So depending on your family's philosophy and what you want for your kids. Location. There's a lot of different options. We send the boys to a really beautiful daycare that goes up to, I think, about I actually don't know, maybe prep or grade 1.
Yeah.
But
And it takes from how young?
2.
Oh, so from 2 years old.
Yeah, they can go even a little bit younger. So they're obviously all separated.
Yep.
It's a beautiful Balinese experience, like it's got the ballets and the big lawns. And so I walked in and I went, this could not be any more cliche in terms of what we've dreamed of them going to this beautiful space. But they use international curriculum, so they're learning they're learning numbers, they're learning reading, they're learning music, they're painting, drawing, doing all of this stuff based on certain curriculums. So
similar to an Australian
very,
childcare.
very similar. Their teachers are all Indonesian or Balinese.
Yep.
So you just have to think
The
about
language is English? Or?
everything's English. There's kids from everywhere, which I love, and they celebrate everything. So the kids celebrate, all the Indonesian, all the Balinese holidays, Thanksgiving. They have, Christmas, Easter.
Yeah, so
government,
they do all of the
everything.
Chinese New Year.
Chinese New Year. It's so inclusive. Each week I'm sending them to school in,
A different costume.
a different costume with a plate of international food. So it's really beautiful. I think that's one of the really lovely things about here.
What about the cost?
So some are the same prices as Australia. Others, can be $10, $20, $30 a day per child. So I think, again, it depends what you want. The more expensive ones are obviously run a lot more like an Australian childcare.
Yeah.
So you're getting that kind of...
So if you want the experience from home, you're paying the price from home.
Yeah, definitely. But I think if you're here,
Yeah.
you know, you're wanting to give your kids a different experience in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So there's some really good options.
And what about just if people want playgroups to meet friends and for their kids, you know, you're a young mum here, and did you find good experiences with playgroups?
Well, I was really lucky because we had friends here and things like that. So we had a really great network anyway. But I know that there's a lot of Facebook groups. Like there's the Mums in Bali, there's
Bali Kids.
And you often see mums putting up, you know, posts like, we've just moved here, we're in this area, we're looking for other families with kids this age. And everybody's really inclusive and supportive here. So, you know, you can do that and create some really nice networks and groups.
Make your own little play group. And then I think there's some scheduled play groups at like the indoor play centres and things like that have like, you know, Thursday morning play group day or things like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can kind of find your little tribe and, you know, see what works.
What works for you.
Yeah.
All right. How are we going? Oh, okay.
Where are we? Oh.
The big one.
Are schools in Bali expensive? Which ones are the best? Well, I'm going to hand this one over to you, teacher, Guru Karlie.
So actually, that's one of your biggest considerations if you're moving over here with kids is schooling, because international schooling in Bali is really expensive if you want to send them to an international school. And I'm talking... the cheapest international school is around 10 to 13,000 Australian dollars, which is like 100 to 130 million rupiah per child per year, right up to $30,000 per child per year. And people are often flabbergasted when they find out these prices. So it is really expensive. There are great schools, really great international schools, but you do pay a premium.
Paying the same price as a you know, high-end private school in Australia.
Yeah. That doesn't mean they're your only choices. So for the last 6 years, my kids have done online school back to Australia. So I used to be a teacher, and when I came over, the school I wanted to send the children to had a big waiting list. So we went into doing online school, and we found that it really worked for us. And actually then when COVID hit and everybody went online for 2 years, nothing changed for us. It was
they were already adjusted.
Yeah, and that's not for everyone. I have a flexible work arrangement, so it worked for us. I'm used to the school curriculum.
Yes.
Bonuses to that, because it's the Australian system. My eldest, who's about to finish grade 12 this year, she can go back to Australia to university and be considered an Australian student.
Right, okay.
Whereas, which means you can have HECS and things like that. Whereas my youngest, Cameron, has decided this year to join one of the international schools. So she'll be joining Diet Mika later this year. And if she stays there, she'll be joining in grade 9. And if she stays all the way to grade 12 and she wants to go back to Australia to do university, she actually will be treated as an international student, which means you pay your university fees up front. So what you see happen with a lot of expat kids here is their parents send them back to Australia to go to boarding school come grade 11 and 12. So that because boarding school is about the same price as international school here. And then they can have that option of being, you know, a local
Australian.
It is something to consider, and it comes up a lot more quickly than you expected because you move here and the kids are your age.
Absolutely. We're already being asked, you know, where are the kids going to school? And I'm finding myself having to do all that research, and, you know, it is very different to what we're used to in Australia.
Yeah, it's different. So other options, so of course there's online. There's quite a good lot of more affordable places for the younger years, like maybe up to about grade 3.
Yes.
So there's a lot of those around. There's quite a few, especially during COVID, like really good homeschools that popped up, which kind of come in at maybe like somewhere between $5,000 to $8,000 a year, depending where you're going. Indonesia have also what's called National Plus schools, which is their version of private schools. And I believe if you have a kitas, you can send your children there, but you have to be prepared that there's a lot of the conversing will be in Indonesian. So while they're very good schools, you have to be comfortable that that's how you're confident that your children
will be
learn,
able to,
especially if you don't know Indonesian.
Yes, yeah.
Because it can be very hard for you to help them then. So school, yes, it can be super expensive here. Are there options? Yeah, there's plenty. Are there people doing all types of alternative schooling? Yes, plenty.
Yes.
There's a whole homeschool community. There's a whole unschool community.
Yeah.
There's like everything.
It's Bali. There's
Bali.
like everything.
Everything you can imagine is here.
Yep.
But if you are coming over here with the view that you want a traditional schooling setting for your kids, then you've got to be prepared to pay for it.
To pay, yeah. I think our philosophy has always been with the boys, and now that we're having to think about it, with COVID, you don't know what's ahead. We don't know where we may end up in 5 years, or, if they're halfway through their schooling, we may have to go back to Australia, or we might go to Singapore. I want them to be able to adapt to that, and it's not a huge change for them in terms of their schooling. So that's, so I think it's important to have those really thought out conversations.
Yeah, and what it means to you and things like that. So for me, I was super comfortable with the kids schooling online. I know exactly what happens in Australian schools. I spent 15 years in them.
Yeah.
And I was very confident they could get the same level of education, if not higher, by doing in these smaller live groups online. But of course, then that means as a parent, we had to put more effort into the social side.
Yes. Yeah. I always think about that with you guys. Like your kids were always doing, and still are, so many activities.
Yeah. Because of course that's where they had to make their friends. And I guess in that way, where you're lucky in Bali is there's so many people not just going to regular school, that it probably makes it an easier way.
Yeah.
But it's got to be what you're comfortable with, but it's definitely a cost consideration if you're considering moving over here.
For sure.
Yeah.
That one's for the expats.
Yeah, that one's for the expats. Sorry.
Sorry, holiday makers.
Or the next one's for the expats too. We had a question about what do most expat kids do after high school. Look, I was explaining to Em, because sometimes you don't realise these things until you get to that part
stage
of your life.
Yeah.
So even for us, we've only realised this in the last couple of years. So my daughter, who's in grade 12, we live here under our company Kitases, which is like our resident visas. Once she turns 18, which will be in September, she is not entitled to be on our family Kitas anymore. So Indonesia then sees that as like
she's an independent.
adult.
Yeah.
So that's a consideration in itself. It's like, we really don't know what we're doing yet. We'll figure that out with our visa agent soon. But we were like, oh wow, so she can't stay on our Kitas. And I was like, is there a way around this? Can I employ her? And they were like, no, because you can't employ someone in your company who's a foreigner until they're 21.
Right.
So to answer that question, lots of expat kids do leave, especially if they're going to go to university. I don't know any expat kids who have stayed to do university here. Not that I think the universities are bad here, but I just don't know any. There are plenty of universities here, but I don't know any expat kids that have stayed. They generally tend to go if they're taking the university route. Employment can be super difficult here because, like I said, they can't get employed, because even if there's somebody who wants to employ an 18-year-old, they can't, foreigner. So most expat kids leave. An idea that we've discussed with my youngest, because she's quite the savvy little entrepreneur, is we've discussed the idea of, if she doesn't want to do university, if she would like to stay on and do internships in Bali, and more so get that hands-on learning, and then that way we can get her a visa for doing an internship.
Yep.
But of course she's not making income then, so I've just said, well, it's going to cost me a fortune to send your sister to uni. I will give you a salary if you go and do internships.
Just thinking out of the box.
Well, that is my idea for her. I think like it would be great. She could go and, be your intern for 6 months and learn all about the wedding industry.
Come on over, Cammy.
She can go to my friend's silk company and go and learn about that for 6 months. So that's my idea there anyway. I'll pop in the show notes. I've written a whole article on doing internships legally in Bali. It doesn't mean making a salary.
Yes.
It's a work experience per se. But anyway, that's something we've discussed for her if she chooses to stay in Bali. But to answer that question, majority leave.
Yep.
To find employment or to go to university. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, big one to think about, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, where to eat and get healthy organic snacks? Well,
for kids. Yeah.
For kids. Yeah. So back to tourists generally. Look, this one, that we're spoilt for choice here with incredible restaurants, cafes that serve so many different.
And everything from organic to dairy-free to
gluten-free,
flexitarian to vegan, you can really just get it all.
Yeah. I think if you've got kids with particular dietary requirements and you're coming on holiday, I think the more you can bring is probably better if they're, especially if they're little and they're used to certain snacks and things like that. It's worth bringing, those with you.
And it's no problem to bring them in.
No.
I mean, you can declare them and everything.
Yeah.
But
you can bring formula as well if you've got little like babies that are still on formula with a special type. Like we had that with our boys. So bringing all of that stuff is fine if you're coming on holidays.
Yeah.
I think maybe for ease and for peace of mind rather than having to go and try and find it while you're here.
Especially if the kids are fussy and there's a certain thing that they like. But we do have excellent supermarkets here, which maybe some of the tourists don't see them because I guess if you're not seeking them out. But we have excellent supermarkets here like Grand Lucky and Festive and
Popular
and Bintang and there's lots of really good, and they stock a lot of international brand import stuff, but check the price.
Yes, check the price.
Because, I remember when Grand Lucky first opened in Sanura and we're like, oh yeah, with salt and vinegar chips, and we put them in the basket and there was like $15. We're like, take it
put
back
them
out of
back.
the basket.
Do you know, I've got a funny story, not so much about food, but Jules went to the supermarket once and was sick of the garbage bags here. So we bought, and just I think naturally from going to the supermarket in Australia, recognised the Glad brand.
Oh no.
And picked up some Glad garbage bags, $25. I was like, why was the shopping so expensive? And he was like, looked at the receipt and he
the Glad
$25.
bag. If you're buying anything that is, an import, you need to check the price.
Check the price. But there's some really great health food stores and stuff here as well that we shop at a lot. We get gluten-free bread.
Yeah.
We get, gluten-free snacks, rice cakes, peanut butter, all that kind of
basic stuff.
There's butchers now, for meats and
there's
things like that.
There's mini munchers, which is like the so especially if you're a tourist and you have really little kids and you want organic, fresh baby food, and you can order it and they'll deliver it to your hotel or villa. I mean, if you live here, you can get it as well. But I know a couple of my friends who have been here recently with little ones have used them to get meals delivered so that they don't need to think about that, and that's prepared.
Yeah, if your kids are at that stage.
So but it's not hard to find healthy, and of course there's fruit markets everywhere and there's fruit everywhere around here. So
fresh fruit everywhere.
Yeah, so that's not too bad. So on to the activities. So we had quite a few questions about best activities for kids and especially for little kids.
Yes.
So you're on the little kids.
I'm on the little kids. I'm on the toddler questions. Where to even begin? There is so many things for little kids to do here. We're spoilt for choice every weekend. We have family day every Sunday, so we're always looking for a new thing to do with the boys. Splash Water Park in Canggu or Brawa is great with the little ones because it's probably better than Water Bomb.
For little kids.
For little kids because they've got the smaller pools, they've got the smaller slides, they're really set up for...
And it's not as big of an
It's not a huge park.
Yeah.
So it's actually really set up for we go with friends with babies,
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's a really great water park. There's Bali Zoo, there's Bali Safari. Oh my gosh, my kids would go to Bali Safari every single week if they could. And it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I even love going. Like, the parks and what they've created there is unbelievable. So I
Amazing,
highly
yeah.
recommend Bali Safari with the kids. Obviously beaches. We've got
So many beaches.
amazing beaches.
Probably not the Uluwatu ones where you need to walk down so many steps.
Not
so.
Ulu. And even, with little ones, if we're talking about toddlers, Canggu Beach and Seminyak Beach, not so much. We tend to now find ourselves going to Legian Beach for the day because it's flat.
The waves are a lot smaller.
It's much safer for the little kids to play.
Sanua's got no waves.
No waves, Nusa Dua.
Yeah.
So a lot of my mum friends with little kids will actually travel to go to these different beaches, where the sands are white and, there's less rubbish and all of that kind of stuff. So beaches, if you just want a cheap, easy one. Heaps of indoor play centres.
Yeah, there's more than what people could imagine around. We just had a huge one open in Sanua.
Yeah, that one is amazing. The boys love it.
Yeah.
But there's some in Dalung. There's heaps in Canggu, Denpasar.
The malls generally all have a kids
playground.
play, like, the ball pits and the slides and everything like that.
Yep, Tamora in Canggu. There's Park Life in Babakan.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Milka Madu, obviously.
Yeah, there's lots of restaurants with playgrounds and things like that in it as well.
So you can enjoy and the kids can play. And then, I think the
big kids, yeah. So big kids, obviously, like, you cannot run out of things to do.
No.
Water bomb is awesome and a must once your kids get a bit older. The wake park, you can do wakeboarding. They've got one of those inflatable worlds there on the water where you go and play. Quad biking, tubing down the rivers. Ubud's got a gorgeous little fairy village if you've got little kids into fairies to go and paint and make dolls and things. There's ceramic workshops. There's quite a few of them around now. The Trans Studio Mall indoor theme park.
Yes.
We went back there again.
Is that where you went recently and did the flying thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we did the iFly, the indoor flying. But it's a literal indoor theme park with a roller coaster on the roof.
Yep, that roller coaster.
There's like a rapid ride. There's so many cool rides there. That's definitely worthwhile doing, especially if you're stuck here at a rainy time.
And there's the movies. There's a cinema as well.
There's cinemas everywhere. Surfing lessons, of course. There's honestly, I'll pop a link with all of our favourite activities to take.
There's so
kids on
many,
with.
so many.
There's so many. You can't get bored here.
No. So
cooking classes.
I'm like, there's dance classes. Like, it's going off in my head.
Like, so many things you can do.
So many things.
So many things.
Okay.
Oh, next one, birthing in Bali. So we got a question about having babies in Bali and our experiences or thoughts on it. So it's not something either of you or I did, Em. We both had our babies in Australia.
Yep.
But I do know lots of expats. Obviously, I know hundreds of locals who have had babies here, but I know quite a few expats as well who have had babies here. They've all had really good experiences from what I've heard from them. It's not something I can speak on because I haven't done it.
Yeah.
But it's completely possible.
Yeah, and I think, again, it comes down to your personal choice, doing the research, making sure you're comfortable with, the hospitals and the care and everyone has different reasons for why they do things. Making sure, like for us, I was a high risk pregnancy, being older with twins, and so I just felt more comfortable being in an environment that I knew. But we had an amazing obstetrician here.
So you did all your lead up, didn't you? Before?
Yeah. So we did all our appointments, we did all our scans, we did everything, all our checkups here, and then just went back for the birth.
Yeah. One thing to do is check your insurance. Like, if you're living here, you'll be on some kind of insurance. Check what you're covered for, so you just don't have any nasty surprises.
Yeah. But lots of people do it.
Yeah.
I think it's changed a lot as well, and I've heard really positive things. So
That's birthing in Bali.
Yeah.
Next one. Do people use car seats in Bali? Well, people are always horrified when I answer this question.
Yes, I know.
No, mostly people don't.
I was even horrified at myself. Yeah. I was like, what?
So no, mostly people don't.
No.
Some people do, and people who have a full-time car or a full-time driver or drive themselves will generally always have a car seat in their car. But as like our family doesn't have a car, you don't have a car, do you?
No. Well, we semi have a car. We have a driver with a car.
Yeah. So we have a driver that we use sometimes, but we don't have a full-time driver, or we don't have we don't drive a car ourselves. If we do, we just rent one for the weekend. And if you're here as a tourist, obviously you don't have a car. So no, generally people don't.
I think it depends obviously on the age of your children.
Yeah.
If you're living here. So, I've got friends that do drive, and they've got kids aged from, 7, 3 and then babies. So if they're driving and they've got 3 kids in the car, they need to have car seats, especially for the baby.
Yeah.
For us, we don't, because I thought we would when we came over, and we actually bought some, but they didn't fit in the car, and long story, whatever. And it just became easier that the boys, there's always an adult in the back. They know they have to sit down, put their seatbelts on and do all of that stuff. But we don't use a car seat for them. As we said earlier, no one's driving very fast.
Yeah, it's generally a pretty slow-paced here.
Yeah.
If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can hire car seats here, or you could bring your own over.
Yep.
But the advice there would be you have to hire a full-time driver, because you're never going to have that car seat and put it in and out of a grab or in and out of a taxi. It's not going to happen. So if you really want your kids in a car seat, you need to bring it or hire it. Probably don't expect to find anchor points in cars.
No.
I don't think they exist here. Do they?
Don't know.
I don't think so. You know how Australia have the anchor
No, I don't
think
think so.
anchor points exist here. And you can hire a full-time driver and have it in there that way.
Yeah.
But the majority of tourists will have the children on their laps if they're quite
laps.
small, or beside them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's plenty, as we mentioned earlier, there's plenty of places that you can hire all of this stuff from.
So maybe, for your little trips, you don't mind, but if you're going on a big day trip with a driver, maybe you want to hire one then. Sometimes the drivers can organise that for you, or you can organise it through a rental company. So maybe you can do a bit of both as well.
And if you're living here, there's, again, lots of baby seats, car seats, things being sold on the Facebook pages as well. If you want to buy well-known brands secondhand, I think that's a really good way to do it, because they can be quite expensive here if you want to buy it new.
Yes, that's right. Or you need to bring it back from a trip away.
Or bring it back. Yeah.
Do one of those. Okay, easy one, next one. Should I bring swim nappies to
Yes. Bring the swim nappies. There's no swim nappies here.
Yeah.
So stock up. Every time we go back to Australia, we stock up on swim nappies. Bring swim nappies. That's an easy one. And I think actually also normal nappies. The nappies here aren't great.
Yeah.
We've adapted now, because obviously you can never bring enough to live here.
Yeah, that's right.
I did bring a lot. But if you're here for a holiday, definitely
bring your nappies.
Bring your nappies, bring your wipes, bring what you're used to. If you're an expat, it is fine to trial some of the different nappies, but they're not as good as Australia.
There you go. Gap in the market for somebody who wants to come over here and
totally.
And so our last question that we had through on our Insta was, easy one, is best family beach resorts.
We get asked this all the time. I get asked this, I reckon, 5 times a day. Where can we all stay that's fun for the kids?
Even expats ask this though, like, where can we go for a weekend? What's a good resort?
Yes, yep. Well, I mean, you're probably
so
very well equipped to answer
The first thing is the areas. Like the first thing you need to choose is what area you want to be in, for all those reasons we listed before. So figure out your area, and pretty much every area of Bali has amazing kid beach resorts. So if we're talking beaches, you know, along Nusa Dua, gosh, there's so many. There's like Melia and Grand Hyatt and
The Westin.
Kempinski, the Westin, Ritz-Carlton, the Hilton. You know, they all have different things to offer, from water slides to amazing kids clubs to amazing different activities that
Nanny
the kids
services,
can do. Yeah,
all of that.
That's right. If you're going beach along in Sanua, the Hyatt and the Andaz both have really good beachfront properties with really cool kids clubs in each of them. If you're coming along Kuta, there's like Bali Dynasty Resort was the first ever family resort here and is still super popular along there. Along Legian,
Padma.
the Padma and the Mandira are hugely popular family resorts along there. In Seminyak, while not right on the beach, but still quite good, is Courtyard Marriott. They've got a really cool kids swimming area and they've got a really cool play centre.
Okay,
there.
I didn't know that one.
So yeah, there's lots. Once again, we do have a list, so I'll put a link there. You can look at them all there. But yeah, it's hard to go wrong. The resorts are very good at catering to kids' meals. You know, I saw a funny TikTok the other day that said, you know, going out for dinner in Australia and like the mum's up and cuddling the kid the whole time, and then going out for dinner in Bali and like the staff are off with the kids.
Yes, I
everywhere.
saw that.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So the Balinese tend to just adore kids, and they become great babysitters and entertainers when you're going out to lunch or dinner. So I think that wraps up our questions from Insta. So thank you. That was a fun one.
That was fun. And thank you for sending all those questions through. I think the response was amazing.
Yeah. So we'll give you a little insight into what our next Insider Tips episode, which will be in about 4 episodes' time, is. It's going to be on dentistry in Bali. So if you've got questions about dental work in Bali, what to expect, cosmetic, braces. Em and I both have personal experiences at the dentist here, and we're going to answer all of your questions about that and tell you a few of our stories of things that we've had done here.
Yes.
So that's
going to be a good one.
That's our next one there. So you can start compiling your questions and sending them through, and we'll save them all.
Yes. Maybe we do another shout out like we did.
We will do another
on the
shout
Insta,
out
because that was really good.
Yeah,
I think
we will do that. It was good format. So now, if you haven't already, please, right now, if you're listening on Spotify or on Apple or wherever you listen, jump on our YouTube and subscribe to us, please. The team at Lighthouse here have been doing an amazing job at our videos. So we want you to have that option available. You can actually, if you listen on Spotify now, we actually upload as videos, so you can watch it on Spotify as well. But, you know, for vanity reasons, we want some more subscribers on
please
YouTube. So that's your task, besides thinking of dentist questions, is please.
Now everyone has homework.
Yeah, you have homework. Please subscribe to our YouTube. So I think that's it for this episode, Em.
Yep.
All right.
Fabulous.
Well, that was a good one. Enjoyed that.
Thanks, Carls.
Thanks,
Until
Em.
next time.
Until next time, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.